The following is a conversation with Roman Fischer, a high-performance fitness coach dedicated to transforming lives through fitness, nutrition, and mindset. His journey began from personal experiences, losing loved ones to health-related issues, and his own transformation from struggling with self-confidence to building a thriving career in fitness coaching. This is Pre-Zero Sports Talk podcast, and I'm your host, Sid Bensalah. Today, we'll explore the power of fitness, the mental and emotional aspects behind physical transformation, and practical advice for anyone looking to improve their health. This conversation is all about mindset, discipline, and finding balance. Roman, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Take us back to the beginning. What first got you into fitness, Roman?
Honestly, from the very start, beginning and get-go, my whole fitness journey, what actually got me into it to begin with was my younger brother, of all people, actually. Seeing him firsthand, lift weights for the first time in the garage of the house that we lived in. And so seeing him pick up the weights, lift the weights, and of course, not make a immediate transformation. That doesn't ever happen. But making that gradual transformation and seeing the results and the hard work that he put in and seeing the fruits of his hard work honestly really inspired me. But even before I saw the transformation that took place and started to occur over several months, days, and obviously years, even long before that, just seeing him first get into it, that honestly was enough to motivate me, because when you work out, even if it's not weightlifting, just to go for a jog or a run, you get endorphins when you work out, when you exercise. So seeing him do that and then get the endorphins from that, and honestly just get more mental clarity, more mental focus, and honestly just more positivity, and overall just feeling better and just more mentally clear and healthy. So seeing those changes, positive changes to my brother, were literally enough to inspire me to get into fitness for myself. And so I also thought too, if my younger brother can do this, I got to do this too. So I got to get into it. I cannot not do this. I cannot not do this. So I had to get in, I had to jump into fitness. And quite honestly, growing up, I wasn't like super out of shape like some people might be or may have been. But growing up, especially through school, I wasn't overweight, but I wasn't really muscular. I was in that, strange gray area or category that a lot of people referred to or know as skinny fat. So I wasn't really muscular. I was more skinny, and then had just a little bit of extra, abdominal fat in my midsection area. So really all that combined, and then just not having as much of a high self-confidence as I wanted, having a lower self-confidence. I wanted to increase that and boost that and really just feel better, honestly, mentally more than anything. But I also wanted to enhance my physical appearance more. So all that combined, that's what really got me in. And yeah, ever since, I've never looked back.
Fantastic. Shout out to your younger brother.
Yeah. For sure.
What a story. I love it. Looking back, what was the moment when you knew fitness wasn't just a personal journey, but a mission to help others?
Well, it really started with myself, of course, as you know, and realizing it's not just a phase. It's more than anything. It's a lifestyle. It is not a phase. It's a lifestyle. Of course, people can treat it as a phase, but I don't believe that's a good tactic or a strategy, because the moment and the time people do that, the moment people lose the momentum. So any possible progress you could or may have made in fitness, if you treat it as a phase instead of a lifestyle and an overall journey, you're not going to see the full fruits of your progress of what you could and would honestly achieve. So it really started to help other people the moment I started seeing the benefits for myself, and the moment I started getting muscle, I started toning up my physique. And the moment also that I got more overall self-confidence, more mental clarity, more focus, better sleep. Because growing up, that's another thing I want to touch on. Growing up, I struggled. And I struggled with sleep, insomnia, trying to get a good night's rest, and just trying to look and perform my best from day to day. So the moment I started sleeping better, getting better quality sleep, more sound sleep, more consistently, and a lot of that is due to working out, so all that connected, that made me just feel better and honestly be more just positive, be happier, more positive. And then when I started seeing the benefits that I was getting for myself and also being a humanitarian at heart, and of course, seeing a lot of, as you mentioned just at the very beginning, having a loved one in my family that, that I sadly and tragically, honestly lost, that all really takes a toll on someone, emotionally, mentally. And while it did put me in a depression, in a really rough spot, ultimately I came out stronger because I used that, pain and that emotional hurt for fuel. I used that pain essentially for fuel to drive myself not only to be even healthier and make fitness and healthier eating and just healthier, habits as a non-negotiable. And when I started to do that, and I just kept seeing and feeling the benefits for the health and fitness in my life, and also again being a humanitarian, I realized if you put those two together, you honestly do get fitness coaching, fitness training, personal training, however you want to say it or phrase it. But essentially that's what led me to want to help other people out. And it's crazy. When I started, it was a questionable time to start, admittedly, to actually like fully launch the whole fitness coaching business as a whole. But quite honestly, I started at a pretty good time, believe it or not. But it started right around COVID, like right around the beginning stages of COVID, of early, almost end of 2019, early 2020.
Okay.
But yeah,
Before before the lockdown.
that was interesting. It was like right before the lockdown.
Yeah.
I was, getting everything into place. Yeah.
Cool. Earlier during our intro chat, you mentioned struggling with self-confidence when you were younger. How did fitness play a role in overcoming that? Which you did explain somehow, but if you can elaborate further,
Yeah.
Roman.
Yeah, for sure. Well, honestly, growing up, especially growing up throughout school in my younger days, not that I'm like super old now, but growing up
Still
when I was
young, man.
younger, still young and strong, still going. But when I was younger, though, it was really just growing up in school. I had a lot of issues and a lot of struggles with self-confidence. So it would be, a lot of people throughout school telling me, "Oh, you're not big enough. You're not strong enough to be on the football team. You don't look, as big as you think you are, or as big as you could." So it's really between a lot of, honestly, a lot of bullying, growing up, people telling me I don't look a certain way or fit a certain role or aspect of life. So it's really a lot of that. And then honestly, too, having dealt with a lot of depression growing up in that same time frame, and then not really doing much outside of going to school and honestly maybe playing a little bit of soccer, and then that's about it. And then I just played video games, sat on the couch. I mean, admittedly did what a lot of, kids at my age usually would have done, but still, I didn't take anything serious. I didn't take my health serious. I ate almost anything and everything in front of me. Usually not very healthy stuff, or foods and candies. And so I did that. And then honestly, just didn't feel good about myself. I didn't feel like I was good enough. Looking at myself in the mirror, which I did every now and then. And I just did literally self-reflection, looking at myself in the mirror, not really thinking as highly of myself as I really should have. I mean, yes, I didn't do everything as great as I could have. I didn't eat as well. I didn't, as I do now. I didn't sleep as well. I didn't feel as, well because of those things. But I also was too hard on myself growing up. And I was so weighed down seeing myself as being too skinny. I didn't have, the definition in my, stomach area that I wanted. And I just didn't have the muscle tone and definition that I have now and that I was wanting back then. And so that did make me feel not as confident. And then honestly, too, I didn't date a lot growing up in school. So all that combined, it made me feel inferior. It made me feel inferior to a lot of the other guys in my school that were on, the football team, or maybe even just on the track team. So just running track. So yeah, that was huge issue for me. And just growing up with depression, I was very much depressed, and I didn't feel like I was that motivated in a lot of different things in life, other than just getting up, go to school because I have to go to school, and my parents tell me I have to go to school, so I'll go to school, and then I'll come back and honestly do whatever after that. Maybe hang out with certain certain groups of friends. But beyond that, yeah, it was a struggle, but it's all mental, right? It's all mental. So no matter what fitness goal you have or what fitness aspiration you have, when your mental health isn't, even fair remotely, and it's struggling, it's going to be a rough, uphill battle for a lot of people. Not to mention, it really does put a strain on you just everyday life outside of working out and exercising. So that was something that I really did endure and struggle with growing up. I mean, I had some days it was hard to get out of bed. I just didn't feel at all, happy with myself, my life. I just really was super depressed and super anxious, honestly, too. I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression growing up, and then was put on all these different medications, which honestly wasn't really for the best, especially with all the side effects that typically come along with those said medications. But getting medications for depression and anxiety and everything else.
Yeah. It's not a nice feeling being in that situation, peer pressure, not feeling well. Everyone, the majority at school, pointing at you, telling you stuff that you don't want to hear. Did you seek some kind of support or someone that you trusted that you could share with him, with her, about the things you are going through, Roman?
Yes, actually. I actually saw... It was several different people throughout my, life growing up. But other than my parents, who I honestly immediately talked to, being there for me almost every day, basically every day, I went to them about it, about some of the people that bullied me. And then also, not just that, but also the principal and the counselor at the school. So I did a combination of that, talked to my parents as well, and explained and expressed my emotional, hurt and pain with those things, but also just with my anxiety and depression and just not feeling, not feeling well and not feeling motivated and not really feeling confident in much of anything, especially myself. So that was something I really did bring to the attention of my school counselor and my parents, and then ultimately to a counselor outside of school that I had and a therapist. So talking to them as well. My therapist it's a counseling firm, but basically where they eventually prescribe you medications from that. But I really did talk to a really solid, counselor who honestly was trying to get me off the medications ultimately. Yeah. But he was really good. He was really good at what he did. Yeah. I mean, really good. Trying to only use the medications I was on when I was talking to him about everything going on. He was only trying to use the medications as a means to mask the problem temporarily, but then wean off of those medications and just try to tackle, my challenges and problems head on. And so that's ultimately what I did. And through that, and then after I started getting into working out, this was a few years after, but I eventually weaned myself off the medications with his help, admittedly, but also with the lifestyle change that I started when I was, 15. I'm 27 now, so it's been about 12 years. That's when I really started getting into fitness. Not 100% seriously, but when I was 15, that's when I finally started to make that transition and start, weaning off these medications for good. But with the help of counselors and just really expressing my current situation, how I felt mentally, physically, emotionally, and not only saying it first to my school counselor and parents, but then to an actual counselor outside of the school system, that really did help quite a bit in regards and in terms to not only temporarily put me on a medication that can, get me through life a bit, but then to eventually get off the medications for good. And that was really, really pleasant, honestly, the end result.
Looking back at that period, did you find an answer to the root cause of that situation?
Yeah, I did actually. And it wasn't like overnight or anything, I'll be honest. So it wasn't something I just found out right away. I would have to say, looking back on it from today to back then, several years back, it definitely was a culmination of things. So it wasn't just one thing, it wasn't just two things. It was a good variety of things all together. So it was a combination of honestly just not being at my, best version of myself. Obviously, you don't have to work out every day or work out a few days a week even to be at your best necessarily, but I didn't work out at all outside of just very occasional soccer practices and soccer games. I didn't really do much beyond that. And then my health, my nutrition was not not at all good. I would eat anything and everything. So literally going through bags of Twizzlers all on my own. So it was really, yeah. And we all know there's artificial, especially in the US, there's a lot of artificial colors and preservatives and all those toxic, unhealthy ingredients make it hard for your health and for you to actually be at your best internally and externally. So with all that in mind, between not eating healthy at all, maybe once in a blue moon, I would be fed something that would be healthy growing up, but I usually didn't eat the healthiest. And again, I would go through so much candy and junk food, like it was out of style. It's crazy. So a combination of that, just taking in all these bad chemicals, toxic ingredients, not really working out much at all outside of very occasional soccer practices or games. And quite honestly, beyond that too, with those, not always sleeping the best. So between all those just three things, I didn't feel good. I didn't have any mental focus, mental clarity. I had fog, I was fog-headed. I was anxious, depressed, partially because I wasn't getting the rest I needed, but also because of my nutrition, my lack of exercise for the most part. And then quite honestly too, just having negative thoughts stemming from those each individual things. And so really it was just a huge recall to me not really having a healthy active lifestyle for the very most part of my life, outside of, again, just a little bit of soccer that was in my life. I didn't really stay active at all. I mean, I was pretty much a couch potato other than that for the most part, and would eat literally anything in front of me. So it's really a lot of lack of proper nutrition, lack of sleep because of that, but also lack of proper, sufficient exercise to actually keep my health up to par and improve it drastically in a good way. So all those things in combination. And then honestly, I mean, there was, the bullying and outside environmental things that made my mental health go down more, but all that combined with that just really made me feel not very good about myself, not very self-confident, more anxious, and just more depressed. So it was really, that was the root problem. It was mainly my lifestyle, an unhealthy lifestyle, unhealthy way of living, and then some environmental factors playing into it with bullies at school, even some drama in the family on certain levels, on certain things. But that was the root cause where all those things combined.
Yeah. Okay. Many people struggles with self-doubt when starting a fitness journey. What would you say to someone who doesn't feel ready to begin?
Yeah. Hey, I got to say this. No matter where you are in your fitness, let's just say, you are just starting your fitness journey. I would say this, don't worry and don't stress yourself out first and foremost, because that's the number one worst thing anybody could possibly do imaginable, is if you're just trying to begin this, no matter what goals you have in mind and you're trying to achieve, the worst thing you can do is stress yourself out and overwhelm yourself by thinking, oh, I got to work out 4, 5, 6 days a week to get to my goal, so I can get to it maybe quicker.
Roman, just hang on. Correct me if I'm wrong. I will say it again. I think the main trigger for you in your case was your little brother. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
So shout out again to him. Now, put it this way. I met so many people. I talked to so many close relatives. And beside of having everything, access to the gym, having all the equipment you want. And when I say access, like you don't need to travel miles to reach the gym. But still, what lacks, it's that motivation. there is one thing that
Oh yeah.
always it's here. I don't know, you know. So again, I'm talking here generic. You can see your close friends going to the gym, committing, going maybe 3, 4, 5, 7 times a week, for example, which is quite a lot, but it's okay.
Oh yeah.
I know some gym addict, that's another story.
Yeah.
But for someone that really wants to start, but then they
Right.
always find an excuse, they always find a reason. I would not call it laziness, but it's all here. What
Yep.
is the tip? What's the suggestion based on your experience, Roman?
Yeah, for sure. So again, I just to start, don't overwhelm yourself because that's mentally gonna set you up for failure if you overwhelm yourself by trying to think that you have to work out so often, so much, just to achieve the goal. Especially, let's say you want to achieve it quick. Don't think about quick, fast results. Sure, you could get results quicker on average, potentially, if you do it the right way, but don't do that in the beginning because that's just a lot to process at once and it's overwhelming. And it can also be a lot harder on your body. Let's say you want to lose a lot of weight quick, that can be very hard on your body. So I don't suggest that, at least not for most people. So that's one thing just to start with. Also, beyond that, start small and gradual. So even if it is, and this kind of sounds crazy to some people, perhaps, but start with even just 2 days a week, 3 days ideally, but at least 2 days. Just doing that, like 2 full body workouts a week for maybe a few weeks, just to get in the zone and to actually get in, mentally and physically in the zone that you need to be in, and to condition yourself and prepare yourself that much better and easier. That's going to make it where you can start seeing, okay, I'm getting some results. I'm not working out a lot. Maybe it's just 30 minutes to an hour twice a week. So an hour to 2 hours of, literally a week I'm working out. And you can be getting results off of that, especially if your nutrition's in check with that. And then when you can start realizing and seeing results after a few weeks of just 2 days a week of working out, then you can start saying, well, that's not a lot of not a huge investment in my fitness and I'm seeing results. Why not just add in an extra day, maybe 2 days? So it starts getting someone into that frame of mind that, it doesn't have to be every day I'm at the gym or 4 to 5 days a week. It can be 2 or 3 days to start, or 3 days ultimately, and literally do just full body workouts. Heck, another tip is not only start small and gradual, but start at home. Don't worry about spending the extra money to get a gym membership unless you want to. If you want to do that, all the power to you. I would prefer that because there's more equipment. It's easier in that regard, especially if the gym's not that far of a commute. I really suggest it. But if you have a home gym, maybe you live in a complex at an apartment and they have a gym there. I mean, that's simple then. But let's say you don't have that. You can still work out at home or an apartment that may not have that if you do calisthenics. Maybe you have resistance bands. But even if you don't have that, start small. Start at home. Use just your body weight, calisthenic workouts. Just do those exercises 2 to 3 times a week, starting there. That way you're not even commuting at all. You're not spending money to a gym for any type of membership whatsoever, even a basic. And you're also not sacrificing your fitness and your health in the process, but you can just do it at home. Keep it simple. 2 to 3 times a week. Literally, you could even do 20 to 30-minute workouts of calisthenics. So let's just say, for example, you're trying to lose weight. You're trying to burn fat from your body. You could do, I'm not even joking, 2 or 3 days a week of full body calisthenic circuit workouts. And you could literally do it where you do some body weight squats, some push-ups, some sit-ups, maybe even some, inverted rows or pull-ups if you have a pull-up bar. If not, you could get a towel from the bathroom, tie it around the door, and close the door. It's a little weird for some people. And then you can close the door and then literally have the ends where you can hold on to pull yourself up to work your biceps and your back some. So that's a good kind of creative, inventive way of doing it, but still to work your back out without any weights or equipment. other than a hand towel or a full body towel. And then beyond that, honestly, you could do some decline or incline push-ups to work your chest and your shoulders more. And then, of course, planks for your abs. And you can literally do all those together in a circuit. Don't rest at all until the very end of those. And then repeat. Rest for about 2 minutes, and then repeat that 2 or 3 times. And you can get that done in like 15, 20 minutes and do that 2 or 3 times a week. Literally just using your body weight, burning those calories, doing a circuit style fashion of working out. And that way you're going to get closer to your weight loss goals without spending money at a gym, no time commuting there, and literally getting a lot of progress made and done from the comfort of your own home. It's pretty
Absolutely.
neat. Pretty inventive, honestly.
I fully endorse what you said. It's a no-brainer. And even if you go to a gym, even if you are active, you have a plan, the daily, let's say 10, 15, maximum 20 minutes workout at home, it's vital. It's really important. You don't need equipment. You don't need any sort of setup at home in your flat or apartment. It's so simple to do, and there is so many apps that you can use just to guide you on the correct positions, repetitions, etc., etc. I fully agree with you. What are some key habits you recommend for building a long-term fitness success? And why I'm asking this, Roman, because quite often people ask me, Sid, okay, if I have this program, would I see a change in 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks? Or I'm planning to go for a summer vacation somewhere in exotic beach and I want to look fit. Can I do that in 2, 3, 4 months or something like that? It's always the same thing, or worse. 31st of December every year, the next day, 1st of January, people pledge and, okay, I'm going to take a resolution, and one of it, I'm going to follow a strict diet, and in the same time, I'm going to work out. Lo, you know it, 2, 3 weeks, and then they give up. It's so common, And I'm saying this not to discourage people, but when it comes to fitness, I really want to tell listeners what kind of habits they need to develop for building that long-term fitness success.
Yeah, so it's really common, like you just said, to start, a fitness journey, especially at the start of the new year, and then give up or fall off and quit shortly thereafter. It's sadly very, very common. No doubt about that. I will have to say the best habits I can suggest anyone on a fitness journey, especially if they're starting it out for the first time, or maybe they've already been on one, but they're coming back to it after having had, fallen off. I would have to say, number one, keep it simple as you can, where that way you can actually stick to it for the long term, not just for a week or two or maybe a month, but for several months to years and, etc. Honestly, to keep going with it. So find a schedule that works for you that you can stick to and adhere to as much as possible. So whether it's 3 days a week of working out, 4 days a week, if you like 5 days, that's fine. But just find a good split or amount of days that you work out that works for you and your schedule and your overall, just life, your life affairs, your energy, and your time commitment. So if you prefer 3 days a week, do that. 4 or 5, find what works for you. And sometimes you got to do trial and error. So do that, even trial and error. Find what kind of schedule you like most with your fitness journey and your fitness regimen to get to your fitness goals. And so you can do any of those. You can achieve any of those goals 3, 4, or 5 days a week, but just find what works for you, number one. Because that's one of the reasons people fall off is they do too much too soon and they can't stick to it for whatever reason, whether it's just lack of motivation or the time commitment's a little too much for them. So 3, 4, 5 days a week, find what works for you. But for a lot of people, I would suggest 3 to 4 times for the average person. I would have to say beyond that, think of it, and this is all mindset, of course, but remind yourself and write this out if you have to, because this will actually embed it into your subconscious mind. But write out that fitness, literally, quite literally write out, fitness is not just a phase. Fitness is a lifestyle. Fitness is a journey but it's ultimately a lifestyle. It's something that you're gonna, work at through the journey, but it's something that you want to keep as a lifestyle. You don't want to just do it for a fat loss phase or a muscle gain phase. Yes, you do want to bulk and cut if you have those goals, but you don't want to just do that and that's it, and then you're done. It's not that simple. But what's cool about that is there's always something to work at and achieve. So it actually makes it constantly rewarding. And remember, your body is always under construction, no matter what goal you have. Even if it is literally just maintenance, your body's still under construction because you're needing to constantly keep your body, up to par to whatever, level it's at right now.
Yeah.
So that's something you really got to know and remember and remind yourself of, especially on days that you're not feeling it. So that can help quite a bit. I will have to say this to you. Practice working out outside sometimes. Even if you love the gym, I love the gym, go outside, even if it's just for a walk, even if it's for a jog. Maybe it is a full body, workout, circuit or not circuit, outside. Maybe it's on your lawn, maybe it's somewhere out further in nature. But basically what I'm trying to get at is even just do something like a jog or a run out in nature. Now, I'm not going to say run if you're trying to just solely gain muscle. You can still gain muscle and run, that you can, but I would suggest it more if you're trying to just have general health or lose weight. But either way, my point is get out to nature, have the sun hit you. I would say early mornings are really great for this too. Now, if you're not an early riser, that's fine. But find what time works for you. Again, it's all about what works for you, what you can stick to. And just soak in that vitamin D. Get some sunlight. Obviously, wear sunscreen if you're out too long, but still, get that sunlight, get that exposure. And that's going to help your mental health automatically. And then, of course, physical health. Physical health from there, making it that much easier to stick to. You won't be as apt to be depressed, anxious. You'll just feel a lot better working out, but also having that sunlight all at once. It's a really great combination for sure. And then I'm going to have to say this to you. Remember why you started. And this is such a powerful point. When people don't have a why, there probably is a reason, but they don't at least know the reason why they're doing that. So if they don't have a reason, at least they don't know the reason, and they can't remind themselves of said reason, it's going to be a lot harder and just a lot more challenging to stick to that journey. So you have to know your why, and you have to remind yourself of your why, especially on days that you might be, a little disappointed, depressed, anxious, angry, whatever it is that you're feeling. But anytime you're feeling in a negative way, essentially, it's good to have a why to pull out of your arsenal and literally say, hey, this is what I got. This is my why. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And no matter how hard it gets, I can't, give up on this because this is why I'm doing this. So when you can dig in deep and get really, really crystal clear on your why and your purpose to your fitness journey and for your fitness goals, that's going to make it a lot easier to not throw in the towel. So that's something I would also have to say to stay, consistent, because motivation, it comes and goes. Motivation comes and goes, as a lot of people know and sadly have experienced. But what's cool is even with that being said in the case, you can pull out your why, and that's going to keep you consistent. And I love to say this to you. Motivation, it gets you going, but consistency keeps you growing. So you gotta know and remember that, consistency is key. Consistency is literally king, and it's the key to success for your long-term success, ultimately. So always remember your why. And then, quite honestly, I want to say this to you. Writing down and having a list, even if it's a short list, a brief list of all your past accomplishments. So all the past accomplishments you've made, ultimately in fitness mainly, but if you want to think of some outside of fitness, that's fine. But ideally, focus on as many accomplishments as you humanly possibly can to think about and write down. So that way you can go back and look at that. And again, it'll subconsciously imprint it into your mind. So that way it's a lot easier to not give up, to not quit. And those accomplishments, they'll remind you, they really will remind you again why you should keep going, and all the past challenges that you've gotten through. If you can achieve those things, you can achieve whatever goal you have to lose 10 pounds, 40, 50 pounds, maybe gain 20 pounds of muscle, whatever that goal is. But that is going to keep it a lot more, grounded for you, and just a lot more doable mentally. Because really, it all is up here. It's all up here. It's all a mindset thing by the end of the day. No matter how small or big your fitness goal is, even if it is just to be healthy, it's not to necessarily gain weight or lose weight. If you don't have your mindset set right, you're not going to have the motivation and ultimately the consistency to get to that goal and see it through and to really be healthy. So doing those things alone is going to help you tremendously, not just to be motivated for a season, but even when that motivation goes, that fire goes out, you'll have that consistency to back it up, given your why, given all your past achievements and accomplishments and everything you've endured and, got through and overcame, all the challenges you've conquered. And then, of course, just getting out into nature, getting that sunlight in, especially if you can do that and work out some all at the same time, that's going to make just a lot better for your mental health. It's going to make it a lot better for your mental health. And ultimately, of course, your physical health, because they all are interconnected. It's all interconnected. And I would challenge this to you. I want to throw this in here. Get outside, but don't have any shoes on. If it's not, I'm not saying to go travel X amount of distance without your shoes, but get outside of your house or wherever you live and find some area of grass, especially in the early morning if you can. But if not, just any time of day that you possibly and reasonably can, get outside, wear no shoes, and have your feet just touch the grass. Just have your feet touch the grass and be in that. Just feel the grass under your feet for even just a few minutes, and close your eyes if you can. That's a bonus tip. And then if you also have this, play some ambient music or some kind of relaxing music. But even if you don't want to go that far, at least just get outside early morning, ideally, and have your feet just be barefoot and feel that grass under your feet. It's crazy, but there is a lot of proof, and there's been a lot of studies and evidence scientifically that prove that this is therapeutic and very, very much and anxiety relief and reliever. And it also does just make it a lot easier to overcome stress and feel better mentally and ultimately physically too. So
yeah, really cool. Let's shift to nutrition. You've said during our intro chat that fitness is 80% nutrition. What are the biggest mistakes people make with their diet?
Yes, I'm going to say this. One of the very worst things anybody could humanly possibly make is having a diet. So that's I
No, it's okay.
One of the worst things anybody could do is having a diet from the very, very beginning and get-go. So understand that just like with working out and fitness and exercising, it's not just a phase, it's a lifestyle. Same thing with your nutrition. It's not just a diet or a phase or something that you just try to do or a fad that you try to do, such as a lot of the fad diets commonly are and based upon, but rather just a lifestyle and a way of eating and living. So you got to really differentiate those things. I don't think I pronounced that right, but you got to essentially see the difference between the two and pick the better of the two. And honestly, what that is, it's not the temporary, quick fixes or phases or fads, but rather your nutrition as a whole. So you got to look at what you're fully eating. Don't worry about, doing paleo, keto, Atkins, low carb diets. You don't have to worry about any of those things. Any of those diets, yes, if your calories are in the right area and you're having the right amount of foods and the right amounts, you could still lose weight or gain muscle if you do it right, no matter what diet you pick. But what it all comes down to essentially is calories in, calories out, Obviously, the qualities of your food matter too for your long-term health and wellness. But as far as just the immediate goals of losing weight or gaining muscle or any other goals, you have to know how much you're eating. And no diet really matters to that, because you can eat on any type of nutrition, but if you're, or any diet, but if your calories aren't where they need to be, you're not going to get to your goal. So what it comes down to for anyone, watching and listening, you have to know how many calories you need to get to that goal. You got to know how active you are, how many calories your body's burning at rest. And then when you can figure all that out and see that, calculate that, then you can better understand what your total daily energy expenditure is, which is how many calories you burn throughout the day at rest and with, your activity level combined. And when you can do that, you can better pinpoint and figure out and understand how many calories you need to either lose weight or gain muscle, whatever it might be for you. But understand in that process, you don't need any diets to get there. Of course, you can use a diet if you have the right calories, but again, I don't suggest it because they're not sustainable. They're very restrictive, and that makes it harder to stick to, just like it is if you're seeing exercise as a way of just a phase or a period of time. You got to see it as a lifestyle, as a long-term situation. So see your nutrition as something you don't have to restrict. Like, you don't have to restrict fruits, you don't have to restrict breads or carbs, as long as you're not eating too much, as long as you're not having too much overall sugar, added and natural, mainly added, but also natural sugar you got to keep down. But as long as you're not having too much sugar in general, you're not having too much, sodium, too much salt, and as long as your calories aren't way too much and they're in line with how many calories you need, or at least close to that, you're going to get to your goal still. And then just realize beyond that, prioritize protein to maintain muscle mass, build muscle mass if you want to do that too, and then keep you full longer, because protein is literally the most satiating macro that you can have and that you can essentially put in your body. And then, so focus on high protein, keep your calories about where they need to be to get to any goal you have. Focus on that. And then, of course, from there, just the overall qualities of your food. Limit sodium and keep the unhealthy, toxic ingredients like artificial colors, ingredients out of your nutrition. And focus on a lot of vegetables, some fruits. 3 to 4 cups a day is fine. I just wouldn't go much above that. And then just eat in that range that you need to be in for your calories beyond that. And then when you have carbs, though, you can have carbs for sure, but just have more complex carbs, ideally, like fruits or whole grains, quinoa, oats, oatmeal. So things like that, that's going to keep you on a solid routine and solid pathway to eat healthier, eat better, and still lose weight or gain muscle if you have your calories right without any diets. But yeah, like you said, nutrition is 80% of it, at least, if not more. Nutrition is so vital because that's what's going to make or break your goal. No amount of exercises are going to make you lose weight if you're eating too much, for example.
One of my advice is, before you try any kind of diet, it's better to spend some time, understand gut health. I fully agree with what you said earlier about nutrition, but I will add to, for people that has some kind of issues while eating, after eating, don't hesitate. Try to seek professional support and help to see exactly how well your guts are functioning.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. You have to prioritize, the inner and the external health for sure. Always.
Great. Social media is filled with conflicting fitness advice, and we see it all the time. And it's everywhere. What's one of the biggest fitness myths you hear, and why it is misleading?
Yeah, for sure. No doubt about it. So I would have to say this, one of the most common, there's so many as you've already laid out and stated. I will have to say this, and it's nutrition based, but it's the people that say, carbs, essentially make you fat. And carbs are the enemy. Carbs are the devil. Carbs aren't evil. Carbs aren't, obviously it's just a food or thing of nutrition, so it doesn't have any morality alignment anyway. But to get to the point, carbs don't make you fat. Again, it's all about calories in, calories out, essentially. So if you have too many carbs, yeah, you could get fat, but that's not the carbs themselves. It's just the overall calorie count and intake that you're putting in your body exceeding how many calories you burn, leading to weight gain. And it's just the same thing as if you would have a lot of protein or fats or all of the above. But essentially what I'm getting at is a lot of people point the finger at food groups. They'll even do it to fat, like say fat makes you fat. It's all, it is literally all just about what you're eating, but more so how much you're eating. That's really what it is, how much you're eating. And of course, having better quality foods usually they don't have as many calories in them typically, but even still, certain meals can be heavier in calories. But again, it's really calories in, calories out by the end of the day. So yes, if you have carbs, I would still opt for complex carbs like whole grains, fruits, oatmeal, brown rice, things like that. But even still, know that it's the amount of food that you're taking in, not the food group themselves. That's actually leading to weight gain and potential fat gain.
Yeah. Do people really need supplements, or can they get everything they need from food?
That's another one. Speaking of supplements, you don't have to have supplements to be healthy, first and foremost, but you also don't really need supplements to gain muscle or burn fat. I will say, if you have supplements, you can still, get muscle from protein powder. You can still increase your strength and endurance and muscle with creatine. Now, with that said, you can still get, these supplements, the contents of them anyway, you can get that from foods as long as you make sure you know what you're eating and how much you're eating. So you can get creatine from red meats, even chicken, and to an extent. And then, of course, you can get protein, obviously, from meats. And heck, if you're vegan, you can get proteins from other ways, beans, quinoa. There's other ways to get protein if you're vegan. It's not as easy.
It's not easy. And let's be honest, it doesn't matter when it comes to vegan, and I'm not against it, by the way. It's just so difficult and so hard to find the right protein if you're vegan, and I fully respect veganism. I have no issue. It's just, I think, quite often people are completely misled.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. But yeah, definitely though, as far as the supplements go themselves, you can get proteins with the supplements that you need, or you can get them without it. You can literally just turn to food groups. And as long as you know what you're eating and how much you're eating, and it's good quality, protein, whether it's from meats or from, potentially plant-based burgers or however you do it. But essentially, as long as you're getting the proteins from meats or something similar to that, you can still get the protein necessary that you need. And of course, you can do the same thing with creatine, with meats and similar foods and food groups. So bottom line, you really don't need supplements. You really don't. You can still get similar or the same benefits from just food groups. Honestly, you definitely can. In fact, if you do have protein powder, which I'm not against, if you have the clean protein powders on the market, because there's a lot of ones you don't want, but the ones that don't have artificial colors and flavors.
The trendy shakes that we see in the gyms.
Yeah, I'd say at least most of, if not all the protein shakes in the gyms are, there might be one that they have that might be okay, but for the most part, virtually all of them are not good for you because they have a lot of chemicals, artificial colors, flavors, and even a lot of added sugar at times. So keeping that, front and center of your attention and knowing what to look for, what not to have, and that's very, very vital to picking the right protein powder if you go that route. But even still, I will say if you do have protein powder, know that it gives you protein. It helps with that. It's a supplement, so it supplements that. Makes it easier if you're busy to get your protein. But you don't want to live off of protein shakes for a few reasons. Even if you have the right quality protein shake and the right brand for that, there's a lot of sodium that usually is in it. So 1 or 2 servings is fine. But if you have more than that, you start getting a lot of salt in. And even the healthier brands have more salt than I would prefer. But 1 or 2 scoops, again, is fine. I just want to go much beyond that. That's one reason. Another reason, another reason I got to say this is because it can help fill you up some, but it won't fill you up as much as regular whole foods will, because yes, it has a protein which fills you up, but it lacks some of the vitamins and nutrients that can further help fill you up. So don't stick to protein shakes for meals. I would have 1 or 2 scoops a day if you go that route, but that's it. That's my best advice to you professionally, because any more than that is you're gonna think it's a meal replacement, but it's not, because you're not going to get the same exact, satiety, or you're not going to fill yourself up as much as you could having whole foods like, chicken, things related to that. So really understand that. Don't fall into that trap. That protein powder is a meal replacement. It's not. It's not. It's good to have as a supplement, a little bit. That's it.
Yeah. What's different about training a 20-year-old versus a 50-year-old?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So there is a difference. I mean, obviously, they could have similar backgrounds, which could make them similar in certain regards and areas. I will say, though, a huge difference typically is their metabolic rate. That's one thing right off the bat. One typically that's younger will metabolize food faster and quicker than someone older, especially in that, age difference and those age brackets. But also too, I'm going to have to throw in that typically someone younger, while they may not be at their peak or prime yet, they're still able to usually lift weights easier, unless a person's really been in fitness and they're a fitness professional themselves almost, and they're super athletic. So in that regard, someone older in that age bracket might be better off than someone that's 20. Let's say if that person that's 20 has never really worked out. So it depends on their fitness level too, because age matters only so much. Of course, it does make a difference at some point, but when you're super experienced in fitness at 50 or even around that versus someone that's around 20 or is 20, usually that someone at 20 would be better off physically. But at the same time, depending on their fitness levels, each can also sway it in one or the other's favor. So that's another thing to consider and keep in mind. But I will say, for the most part, let's just say they're both beginners. We'll just say they're both beginners. I will say in that regard, the 20-year-old is likely better off then, because they have more stamina, more than likely, more energy overall with that. And then, of course, typically have just more muscle mass, more muscle strength naturally, just being that younger. And yeah, it's just a lot easier to make progressions and quicker progressions than someone that's older. So a combination of a faster metabolism, quicker progressions, and things similar to that, as long as they're both beginners or in that same experience area. Now, again, if that 50-year-old has more experience than the 20-year-old, then it can actually sway it, believe it or not, more so than the guy that is 50 years
I
old.
fully rely on what you said now.
Yeah. It's funny how that can work, but
it does.
It's
it
true.
Does. Yeah. You build successful online coaching business, and here is the case. Okay, you have 50 plus old adults, and most of the time they feel intimidated for whatever reason, So they come to you, Roman, and you try to help them basically to set some goals, and knowing the physical limitations, maybe the mental fitness, it's there. Maybe they have a good motivation and they have more time to look after themselves. It's quite often the case. What makes your coaching different from traditional personal trainer at the gym?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So typically, when you have people at the gym that are trainers or coaches, as I might refer to them, typically those coaches at the gym, they don't give them the full extent of what they could, and sometimes they can't, with the gym's restrictions and limitations. But oftentimes they only typically give them a plan, and perhaps that workout plan's customized. Sometimes that's not even customized. But what really does, make me different between me and them is not only do I give them a customized workout plan that they may or may not give that client, but I also give them a fully customized meal plan and full on, customized workout videos with not only instructing how to do the workout with the proper instruction with the voiceovers, but then also visually, I show them in the videos pre-recorded, but fully catered to them, showing them how to perform and execute each and every rep and set. So it makes it just a lot more, inclusive to them and their goals. And the program with the workouts and the tutorials, but also with the meal plans fully customized to them and their goals. And if they really do need that, one-on-one coaching, that is also available. And yeah, any potential messaging and support as well. So it all comes along with that 24/7. And it's a really neat experience, just being there for the client, getting them the results that they want, need, and ultimately deserve. So that's really what makes me different, because traditional, in-person trainers at big box gyms, typically, they give the client perhaps a customized workout or exercise plan, and that's usually about the extent of it. And then they might meet with them about an hour, hour and a half, once or twice a week, and that's it. Instead of full on, support and fully customized workouts and meals. So there is a huge, huge difference between the two. But that is a very great question, because that is oftentimes looked at with a lot of people. They wonder, what is actually more beneficial, in person or online? I wonder.
Great. What are the 3 simple exercises everyone should be doing daily at home? You wake up in the morning, here we go, let's do these 3 exercise.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I will say, trying to keep it more beginner friendly, or honestly just overall friendly, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. This is something you can really do no matter your fitness level and experience. But jumping jacks, that's the very first thing I would do, because right as you get out of bed, you're naturally standing up, unless you're just crawling out of bed. So when you do that, that's one of the best things you can start with. Your feet are already on the floor. You're already in position to do a jumping jack or jumping jacks. And so I would perform as many as you feel at that point, but at least do in the double digits. Don't do just a few. Literally do minimum, I'd say 10 to 20 at least 10 to 20. If you want to do more, go for it. But I would say at least a solid 10 to 20 reps. And of course, if you want to do a couple rounds, that's up to you. But I would say at least 10 to 20 reps of that starting out, right as your feet hit the floor, right out of bed. And then honestly, right after that, another thing you could throw in there, quite honestly, is doing, some body weight squats. That's a great way to, have more blood flow go down to your
Half
legs.
squat, full squat.
I would honestly, if you can do a low body weight squat, I would do that. But at the very least, I would just keep it standard. Just keep it standard, keep it simple. I would, for most people, suggest that. And then honestly, from there, just do some push-ups. And that's another great way to really target your upper body then. That way, you're not only working out your whole body with jumping jacks, just getting that blood flow throughout your body, but then you're doing those squats, really focusing on your lower body, and then you're doing some push-ups to work your upper body. So that's a great way. And I want to throw this in here too as a bonus thing. If you are more experienced, several months to years, of course, of fitness level experience of working out, I would suggest doing some burpees. So that's that's a really solid bonus exercise you could also do if you have more fitness experience. I just wouldn't suggest that if you're just starting out though, because it takes a little bit of time and technique to figure that out on how to perform it and avoid injuries, obviously. But
Great.
you don't want to injure yourself in the morning. You don't want to do that.
We can talk about this stuff for days, non-stop. What's next for you, Roman? Any exciting projects or goals for the future?
Yeah, for sure. So honestly, going to be pretty soon here doing another feature for Canvas Rebel and Voyage LA. So that's going to be pretty neat. So I'm excited for yet another feature with them. That's one thing I'm doing pretty soon here, and that'll be released pretty shortly. And beyond that, really just getting my workout plans, keeping them customized, but eventually going to have it where it's even more so automated, where people can just go in to my website and just purchase, programs that fit their goals and their schedule, and then they could just buy it on demand more. So also going to include that as part of my coaching. That's going to be cool and list that on my site. And then I'd have to say beyond that, this one's not very soon, probably more down the road later this year or next year, but eventually launch a supplement line. I'd love to do that. And then long term, have a gym. So,
Great, great.
but I'm excited for it.
Fantastic. I wish you all the best. If you could leave the audience with one lasting piece of fitness wisdom, what would it be?
Definitely, definitely. So, no matter where you are in your fitness journey and your fitness goal, I want you to know that just remember, fitness, it's not just a phase. It's not just a phase. It is literally a journey and it's a lifestyle. And this is something that you're going to have for life. So no matter how tough and rough life gets, understand that this journey is something that you need to adhere to. And it's something that you're going to want to adhere to. But just make sure you have your why. Have your why. Have everything that you've accomplished in the back of your mind and written down. And look at this in the morning and just remember, your body's always under construction. Your body is always under construction. So remember that, and remember that you can achieve any goal that you put your mind to. You just got to have the consistency and the game plan to back it up. But utilizing these techniques and these tips, it's going to help you achieve any goal that you want to achieve, even if it is just general health and general maintenance. But yeah, remember your why and just be consistent. And also, motivation gets you going, but consistency keeps you growing.
Fantastic. Great. Now it's time for our lightning round. Ready for speedy Q&A?
All right, let's do it.
Coffee or tea?
I'd have to say coffee.
Morning workout or evening?
Morning.
One book that changed your perspective on health or fitness?
The one book that honestly changed my whole perspective, honestly, that's a good one.
It's okay.
I haven't read a lot of fitness books, believe it or not. I have just read a lot of articles. Let's see here. Okay, I forget the title of the book though, but it is like self-help, but it's also fitness related. Dang, what was that called again? Okay, that's a good one. I'm trying to think of the answer here. Let's see. Well then. Okay, what was that? Okay, what was that one book by Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Oh, I have no clue. You want
the body? Oh, wait. The Bodybuilding Bible.
Okay. All right.
There
Here
it
we
is,
go. Yeah. Your go-to cheat meal?
My go-to cheat meal is deep dish pizza.
Which one? Which pizza?
Chicago.
Okay.
Deep dish pizza.
Roman, if you could train one celebrity or a known athlete, who will it be?
Ooh, that's good. Oh man,
Pick one.
I would have to say, it sounds crazy, but Arnold Schwarzenegger, just because.
Okay. I hope.
He would probably have to train me.
And if you could have a dinner with the historical person, who will it be and why?
Wow. If I had with anyone, I would have to say Julius Caesar.
Interesting. And why?
I would have to say him, honestly. It's not even totally to do with him per se, but I love the history of Rome and Italy. And then also, I am fascinated by his position, not like with everything that happened with him, but I am fascinated with some of the background with his story and his life. So I think that's pretty neat, honestly, to put that to perspective and be able to actually see what made him tick mentally and what actually, made him who he was. I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah, interesting. What's a hobby or interest you have that might surprise people?
Yeah, so I would have to say a hobby or interest that might surprise a lot of people would have to be, honestly, photography. I love traveling and taking travel photos. So I don't do it 100% professionally or anything, but I love taking travel photography, especially if I'm in another state, city, or country, even more so. That's really, really fun. Actually, last year, almost a year to the day, last March of 2024, I actually went to Japan. And so, I had some fun with photography when I was there. Photographed Tokyo, photographed the cherry blossoms, and of course, Mount Fuji, which was really, really breathtaking, just to the human eye, but taking the photos of it, and man, that was incredible.
Nice.
and then seeing Osaka and Kyoto. But yeah, just travel photography.
Nice. A workout song that always pumps you up.
Yeah, one that always pumps me up. Honestly, it's Divinity. I forget who it's by actually, but the song is called Divinity. It's really Peter Robinson.
Okay.
I think he just does electronic type music. But yeah, Divinity. It's amazing. It's just really pumped up and really fast. Really fast.
Do you have your own playlist when you work out, or?
Honestly, it's funny you mentioned that. So I don't really like have a quote unquote like selected playlist, but I do have a certain amount of songs I typically have, and I just make my own playlist each time I work out. So it's always a little different, but it has a lot of the same songs typically.
Interesting. Roman, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
It has. It's been really fun.
And before we wrap up, can you tell our listeners where they can contact you, or learn more about your work, or connect with you online?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, if you want to find out more about me, what I do, my background, and all the clients that I've helped transform and just create better versions of them, it's at romanfischerofficial.com. You can see all that information. And if you have some fitness goals that you personally need help with, you can go to my site, fill out a quick application, and we'll be in touch. I'm also on social media, of course, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and also LinkedIn if you happen to be on there, all at Roman Fischer Official. That's my social media handle across the board. So
fantastic. I'm pretty convinced our listeners will take away so much from your insights. I will leave you to our listeners with a quote from Muhammad Ali. Don't count the days, make the days count. Thank you for tuning in to the Pre-Zero Sports Talk podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Stay curious, stay inspired, and keep making a difference. Until next time, take care.